What is going on, everyone? Anthony here, and welcome back to another video here on Let's Talk Resident Evil. And in today's video, I'm going to be reacting to Ode to Horror, a celebration of Resident Evil. This was a video that the official Resident Evil page put up on YouTube and all the socials and stuff like that, and a lot of people wanted me to react to it, so I figured I would watch it without knowing anything about it. I just know that they're using various Resident Evil clips and stuff like that and hired actors to react to this thing from what people were telling me in the live chat. So haven't really seen any footage of this yet, so figured we would just go into this blind and I'll react to it and kind of, comment on it as we go and talk about, some of my memories of Resident Evil probably after the fact, because it seems like this is kind of like a tribute video. But let's get right into it, all right? So get the headphones on, and let's start reacting. Rated M. Oh, there's the door. Bunch of people into it. Okay, Resident Evil 1 remake. I don't know if I've ever screamed like that playing Resident Evil, but at least they have the dog jump scene. Jesus. Oh, get out of here. No one reacted to that hunter like that. Are they spitting crap? Oh, they gotta show the baby. People flipping over their couch. Damn, you bored, bro? You bored of remake? What? What? Can't get the controls down that aren't even that hard, but okay. I like how they're showing Resident Evil 6. Okay, so this is just like a bunch of actors just overreacting to Resident Evil. Okay. Thought we were going to get more genuine reactions from the community on this one. The chair, of course. If you're playing any of the remakes on the Switch, I feel sorry for you. Bask in the joy of horror.
Resident Evil.
Nice. Good old classic Resident Evil calling card there. With over 160 million players, horror is spreading. And then there's a 75% off in the Halloween sale.
You want to be part of this family, you gotta eat like family.
Is it really that scary, guys? Is it really that scary? Okay, so that was basically just a kind of cheesy little, reaction video of paid actors that, they weren't really playing Resident Evil when they were recording, and they were just screaming and yelling and flipping over couches. I don't think I've ever seen anybody scream that much at a hunter busting through the hospital in Resident Evil 3 Remake. But I like the fact that they showed Remake in there, Remake 2002. That is my favorite Resident Evil or just remake of all time. But yeah, I don't really know. I don't know why they didn't show the original. You know how cool it would have been if they actually showed a panning shot of, an old CRT and someone playing on a, PS1 controller playing the original game. You know what I mean? Because it even says in the description here, it says Resident Evil has been delivering the jump scares and joys of horror to thrill seekers everywhere since our first game released in 1996. We hope you continue to think fondly or with fear of your memories with the Resident Evil series and look forward to the horrors you've yet to experience. So, and they have a link to Resident Evil Portal. So they mentioned Resident Evil 1996 in here, but they don't show Resident Evil 1 OG, 2 OG, 3 OG. They don't show any of that stuff, which is a little disappointing. It's not surprising. They're trying to make this a more modern, polished trailer. As you see, everybody's playing on a PlayStation 5 or a PC or a Switch. So that's the thing, too. It's like there's a lot of, just updates in here for a modern audience, which, again, I understand that that's what people are exposed to nowadays. But how easy would it be for them to show off the classic games if they just had it in a classic collection all in one spot? It almost almost sounds like it's a little bit of deja vu here in this video. I don't know what's going on. But no, basically, this was just a, fun little presentation they wanted to put out for the Halloween season. And I don't think I've ever screamed that much at a Resident Evil game, but we've definitely all had moments of jump scares. Of course, the classic dog jumping scene through the window. They showed that in here from the remake, or the head turned zombie. That's, of course, one of the most iconic scenes in Resident Evil history. And they did show it through remake. So at least they showed remake. The one thing I thought was just like a little silly was showing the guy just like running into the table in remake in the dining room, and it looked like he just didn't know what was going on with the controls. I guess that's kind of like a little nudge at the old school controls, but I don't really think that's really that realistic. I know some people probably nowadays going into Resident Evil have problems with those older controls, but for me, that's what I grew up on, so I guess it just seems like just natural to me. I don't know. I just don't even think about it when I go and play the old games and then jump into the new games. But if I would make a Ode to Horror video, I would like to focus it more on the classic Resident Evil games, because let's be honest here, I just think that when it comes to Resident Evil memories, between the late 90s and the early 2000s kind of vibe is what I would be hoping for. When I think of memories like that, that's what brings me back to that special time where gaming was completely different and the games that we were getting were completely different, and a lot of them were original and they had, fresh ideas. And even though the technology wasn't quite where we are today, because we're at a point now where it's like, how much better can you get some of these games to look? They look fantastic. There's something so simple about, the gaming experience from the late 90s and early 2000s, at least for me, that I relate to, that I always find, some of the fondest memories that I have with Resident Evil 1 through 3, Survivor, Code Veronica, even the early PS2 games like Dead Aim and the Outbreak games. Like, there was a certain kind of vibe and era that came with all that stuff. Code Veronica was also another big introduction into the Dreamcast, landscape at the time. It looked phenomenal, and it really was like the next step at that time, right in between the PS1 and the PS2. When you saw those graphics, you were like, holy crap, all the countless strategy guides that I have that my dad also had, you know what I mean? And he was playing those games. So, it just goes back to a certain time that isn't here anymore. And it would have been cool, at least in this little featurette, if they showed, something from that era, have people dress up in the flannels and make it all 90s, you know what I mean? And make people react and go through the eras of Resident Evil, showing everything. But they don't really care or show the original trilogy as much anymore, if not at all, which I think is a shame, But I always remember it fondly with those original games and the original PS1 that I was on as a kid. I still have all that stuff. I still cherish all of those items, in my collection, because they are parts of my childhood and my memories that we can never go back to. We can't really wind the clocks back to a simpler time. We can only remember the simple times and the great times within Resident Evil. And of course, now sharing it with a online presence, you know what I mean? Sharing it with all of you in the chats, in the comments, you know what I mean? It's expanded, and it's expanded even further to a big content creation space. And, doing this for 14 years, going on 15 years, it really shows how wide the community can get throughout the time, and also how things can change, because a lot of people do get into Resident Evil nowadays with stuff like the remakes, like stuff with, Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8. Of course, a lot of these games are to kind of bring people in, you know what I mean? Depending on how you feel about them is a whole nother story. We're not here to really talk about that. It's mostly just how Capcom approaches bringing in as many people as possible, as many new people as possible, and then they check out the remakes and stuff like that, and that's what they know. They don't really know the original classic games. If they ever do put them out officially, all three of them, that's, fantastic, because then it gets everybody on kind of the same page with like where it once was, where it came from, and where it is now. and you can kind of have that comparison and that contrast and stuff like that. But overall, still a pretty cool little featurette. You know, I'm not going to like knock on it too bad. I just think some of the stuff was obviously very just like cheesy, and that was probably on purpose. You know what I mean? Everybody's screaming and yelling and overreacting to stuff. Some people wanted this to be something else leading into another Resident Evil 9. They're not going to do that in this little featurette. So don't get too silly. I think they're just, you know, doing this for fun. And whether or not we'll see some Resident Evil 9 stuff before the end of the year, at this point, I don't think so. The only logical thing would be possibly at a Game Awards, but I doubt it, even with that. I think we might have to wait till next year, but I've been wrong before. We'll see. I'm sure the Game Awards is something I will be live streaming regardless, so, you know, just to make fun of it because, you know, we're not really a fan of Keighley and the Game Awards, as you know, on this channel. So, yeah, that's an Ode to Horror, a celebration of Resident Evil. What did you think of this little featurette thing? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for more LTRE content. Take care.